Alright guys, Comic Book Steve back here again. We're going to do something a little different this time. This is going to be my Amazing Spider-Man collection haul. We'll see how far we can get in this. I'm going to try to go through it quick. Want to keep it under a half hour. If it looks like it's getting close to a half hour, I'll probably split it into two videos. Got about a box and a half. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, there's no Silver Age books in here. I really would like to get some at some point very soon. But it just hasn't happened yet. So maybe the next convention I go to. So let's kick it off here with -1. This was an event they did in the late 90s where they had -1 issues for all the titles out back then. The story in some of them are hit or miss. This one's not that great. I mean, what can you do with... There were like 4 Spider-Man titles out then, so they did a -1 for each one of them. And you know, how many times can you talk about Peter Parker being a kid? You know, they're fun. They're not super easy to find, but they're not really worth anything either. So, cool to have. This is Amazing Spider-Man 1, the Marvel Milestone Edition. I believe this is the first print, the first run of the Marvel Milestone Edition, Amazing Spider-Man 1. I think it's the red M is the first edition. And then there's a white M, and then there's a white M with no border. That's a slightly different edition. But anyway, I'm pretty sure this is the first edition. Not that that makes it that drastically or that more valuable, but still cool to have. This is Amazing Spider-Man 3 Milestone Edition. I have no idea what printing it is. This is the 8th edition of Amazing Spider-Man 3. Amazing Spider-Man 41 Marvel Legends reprint. Amazing Spider-Man 101, second print. Then this one is the oldest non-reprint issue that I have. Amazing Spider-Man 149, first appearance of Ben Reilly. I'm a big fan of the Clone Saga, so I had to pick this up. I need to get some micro chamber paper though. I'm getting some. I'm not sure if this was in there when I bought it, but I'm definitely getting some bleed on the cover. I mean, if you can tell the letters, the white in the letters is turning a little pink, so I guess that's a good reason to have microchamber paper. This next one is Amazing Spider-Man 194. So I picked this up in the early 2000s when they announced the Evil That Men Do, Kevin Smith, Black Cat series. I figured that it would be hard to, like, this would go up in value, and then it would be hard to get otherwise, so I wanted to get it while I could. It didn't really go up in value at that point. Now I think it's gone up quite a bit, but yeah, it's still really cool to have. It's got a little tear down here, and there's some bumps in it, but otherwise it's a really good copy. Glad to have it. Amazing Spider-Man 200, and we got Amazing Spider-Man 219. I think that's a Frank Miller cover. Amazing Spider-Man 220, 222, 232, 233, 234, first appearance of Will-O-the-Wisp. I like this Marvel Comics Guide to Collecting Comics. Let me pause for a second here. Just want to show you what it says the prices were for some of these books back in the day, because it's pretty hilarious. Okay, so we've got Hulk 181, $25. Enough said. This was back in 1982, so wasn't too many years after Hulk 181 came out, but it was just crazy to think that you could have gotten that for $25 as opposed to what it is now. Then we got 235, 236 with tarantula transforming into a giant spider. 240, 244, 249. I really like that cover for some reason. It might be, maybe it's the blue, that color of blue, and then the orange stand out to me. Really cool. 250. Let's make room for my prized possessions. 252 and 252 signed by Ron Ferns up there. I don't have a certificate for that. I got it signed at a Pittsburgh Comic-Con in 2005. But still, very cool. Really glad to have two copies. One I got in the late 90s, and I forget how much I paid for it. It wasn't that much. And then the other copy I got by accident. I was ordering a Bowen Black Spider-Man statue, not this one, different one, off eBay in like 2000, 2001, and it was like $30. It was like the mini bust, not a mini bust, the mini full-sized one. For some reason, the guy was throwing in one of these copies. I'm not sure which one, for free if you bought the Bowen statue. So I paid $30 for the statue plus this. So that was very cool. Big fan of the black costume. So awesome to have two copies. One day I'll get them CGC'd. I think they're pretty good. One has slightly more spine ticks than the other. Corners are rounded, but not horribly. Papers off-white. Still very cool. Would like to get a CGC copy, or CGC those myself. Not myself, but send them off to CGC. This is the Marvel Legends reprint. Also got it signed by Ron. We got 253, 254, 255, 256. Love all the Black Spider-Man stuff. 257. Also got that one signed by Ron. Not sure why I picked that one. I might have not had the other ones at that point. This might have been the second earliest one I had after 252 at that point. 258. Love that cover. Really awesome looking cover. And then we jump to 261. This one is one of the 10 or so books that I had very, very early on, like in the 80s. I'm pretty sure I must have picked this up off the newsstand with my dad and my brother at some point in the 80s. But the cover always stands out to me as like nostalgic. So this one wasn't my first Spider-Man book, but it was close. It was maybe like the second or third one, and this was in 84, so I was 4 years old. So it's pretty early to be picking up comic books, but I love the Charles Vess covers. Even if Hobgoblin his face looks a little odd. And then we get 263. 264 with a really lame villain on the cover. 265 first print. 265 second print. Like I've said before, I love how they did that silver for the second prints. Really stands out as opposed to how they do second prints and subsequent printings now by just having a different color label on the bottom of most of them. 266. 267, The Commuter. 268, Secret Wars 2 tie-in. 269, Firelord. 270, 271. 273. 274. This is when he fights Zathras. This was a pretty hot book back in the 90s because it was an appearance by Zathros after the Ghost Rider series, and it was like the only appearance of Zathros, I believe, after the Ghost Rider series before the Day and Ketch series. So it was a pretty sought after book while Ghost Rider was hot in the 90s. It's not the case anymore, that's for sure. 275, another cool cover. 276, 277, 278, 279, 280. Guess I forgot the color in Rhino's face in that one. No peach for his face. Just got a milk white face. 281, 282, 283, 285, 286, 288. Black Cat's awful redesign costume. That is, it's probably got to be one of the worst redesigns ever. Right up there with the Azrael redesign. 290, 291, 292, good old Pittsburgh. 293, 294. I was really surprised to find, for such a classic storyline, I was really surprised to find these two in a dollar bin earlier this summer. And I believe the guy had all the other parts of the storyline. It was like he deliberately left those, like whatever collection he bought, he deliberately was like, okay, this is Kraven's Last Hunt, leave that in a dollar bin. I was really happy to get these for $1. Not too often that you see Amazing Spider-Man books in a dollar bin. 295, 296, 297, 298. First McFarlane and first cameo. Technically it's the third cameo of Venom, but the first one that was acknowledged. Amazing Spider-Man 300. This is a 9.4. I got that off of my comic shop about, I want to say, 3 years ago. I was trading it, like I've mentioned before, I go into weird phases in my collection over the past few years where I started converting everything into hardcovers and trades, and then I didn't like that. So I traded back all the trades, most of them, and got a lot of credit from my comic shop, and then purchased a lot of books that I really wanted that were pricey, and this was one of them. I forget how much in credit this was. It might have been like 170 or so, but I was very, very happy to have this. I've shown this off before. This is probably my favorite in my collection, the Chromium Edition. I've mentioned this before as well. The funny story about this is I got this in early 2000, early eBay, $15. I got it because I figured I would never actually own a copy of the regular version of 300. And then years later, here we are now, and this is probably like a $300, $400, $500 book, depending on where you're selling it. If you have a CGC, what condition it's in, obviously. So it's worth a good 100 or so more than the regular version. And it's pretty rare. Very cool to have. Really happy to have it. And that's that. This is Amazing Spider-Man 312. Awesome cover. Goblins fighting. 317. 320. 325. 326. 327. I remember getting this one when I was younger. Really interesting cover with Magneto fighting Spider-Man, even though they barely fight in it. But an awesome piece of Spider-Man history with Spider-Man and his cosmic powers. This is one of my favorite covers ever. 238 or 328. This is Spider-Man with cosmic powers versus the Hulk. Amazing Spider-Man 329. 330. I got 2 copies of 331 because I forgot I had a copy and I found another one in Dollar Bin. 332, another cover. That's pretty fun. 334, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Then we get 340 with the female fatales. This one looks like Lady Deathstrike. Looks once one is like Whiplash, and I don't know. That one's like Colossus, I guess. Pretty weird. Never saw them again. And then we got the leader over there. I love this storyline. Spider-Man gets his powers taken away, and I like how it's an homage to the issue in Spectacular Spider-Man where he gains his cosmic powers. Very cool. We get 342, 343, 45, 46. Another amazing cover. 47, also amazing. 348. This one, 348 is from my original collection. It is, you can definitely tell, it's not in good shape. Sentimental value. 349, 350. It's probably one of my favorite single issues ever. If you never read it before, I highly recommend picking it up. 351, The Return of the Tri-Sentinel with Nova. 353, Darkhawk. Big fan of Darkhawk. 354. This storyline had guest stars all over the place. It was not bad, you know. Back in the, maybe I have like sentimental attachment to it, but I don't think it's that bad. Even with all the crazy guest stars, at least they didn't have Ghost Rider and Cable and Wolverine in there. But they did have Punisher. 357, 358, 359. First cameo of Carnage, or Cleus Cassidy as Carnage. And then the other cameo, got both of those for $1. The second print of 361, gotta find the first print one of these days. I will pick that up. I'm trying to find a good price for it. 362, 362 second print, 363, and for this one, I think it's my comic shop that lists this one as having a second print but doesn't show the cover, and I've never seen a second print of it. So if anyone out there knows if this actually has a second print or not, and potentially has the cover, they can show me. I would love to see it. I'd like to pick that up one day if it does exist. We get 364, 365. This is the first appearance of Spider-Man 2099. 366, 367. I like that Black Spider-Man costume, even though it's a villain. 368, 369. This one, what always bothered me about Spider-Man in the 90s is that they didn't really have a lot of classic villains in the storylines, in the Amazing Spider-Man at least. and this is what during my prime time of reading. Alright, sorry about that. I got a message on my phone and cut out the video. So we'll do some editing magic here. Make it just seamless. But anyway, like I was saying, they didn't have too many classic villains in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, at least in the 90s. So it was really something to see Electro in here. Well, I guess, I mean, alright, so they had, so when I started collecting it was from 345. So it hadn't been too long, I guess. They had, before 345 and like around the 330s, they had the Sinister Six Saga, which I guess was the classic villains. But from when I was picking up off the shelf, they didn't have too many instances of classic villains in Amazing Spider-Man. This was a rare occurrence, Electro being in here. And then the Green Goblin hadn't been in Amazing Spider-Man since that Inferno issue where Hobgoblin and Green Goblin fought. So even though it was only in a backup, it was still blew my mind to finally see Green Goblin on a cover of Amazing Spider-Man, even though it's just like words. But anyway, then we get Scorpion in 370, 371, 372, 373 with a great new tale of Venom. And then we go right into 374, 375. Love that cover. Hate the story in it. I don't like how they tried to make Venom an anti-hero. Spider-Man needs all the good rogues he can get. And although I really like the Flash Thompson Venom, I still wish that Venom would be a villain. 376, 377, 378, 379, 380, 381, 82. Hulk. I like Spider-Man Hulk team-ups. I'm not a big fan of the way Bagley drew the Hulk back then, though. Very gaunt-looking face. He draws the regular Hulk series now, and he's gotten a lot better. 383, 384, 385. There's a weird caption up there about Mary Jane's addiction. Are you worried about Mary Jane's addiction? Because if you are, you should read this issue. This one was a really cool one. This was the first one when I had like a mail subscription. First and only book or series that I got a mail subscription through Marvel. And this was the first issue I got in that subscription. So again, a lot of nostalgia looking at that cover. 387, 388, 388 the unenhanced version, 389, 390 bagged, sealed, 390 unenhanced version, 391, 392, 393, and now we're getting into the Spider-Man mystery, which was who is that guy walking around and who ended up being the clone. 394, 394 CG Seed. I got this one for fairly cheap. I can't remember what I paid for it. 9.8. I ended up picking this one because I didn't have a ton of money to spend on CGC books, but I knew I wanted one that was fairly cheap. This one, like the way they made the ink on this book, the shiny ink, if you read it too much, it makes like a white cut all along, like a white break in the ink all along the spine. So I really want to have a nice copy. And then I ended up finding this other one that's also a nice copy. It's not CGC, it was a lot cheaper. I think I paid like $30 for this, so it didn't break the bank for sure. Always good to have a Spider-Man CGC. And we get the unenhanced version. I like how they try to sell Carnage by putting a blurb on there. It's not important enough to put it on both covers, but hey, since we have that extra space over there, just throw Carnage on there. $3.95 when they change the logo to the logo that's most associated with the show, the cartoon show, and the Clone Saga. Let me get $3.96, $3.97, Stunner, $3.98. Doc Ock finally he hasn't been around since that Sinister Six storyline in the 330s. $3.99. Say what you will about the Clone Saga, I absolutely love this issue. When I read this, I was dying for the next part. It just had a lot of twists and turns. If they made it shorter, the whole storyline, it definitely would have been better. They wanted to do it that way, but editorial and marketing wanted them to. The problem was that this was getting to the mid 90s, into the end of the 90s, or to the late 90s, and comics were going downhill. All titles across the board were losing readers, except for Spider-Man, because of this mystery of which one was the real Spider-Man. So they wanted marketing and editorial wanted them to keep it going. And it hurt the storyline, obviously. But this installment stands out as one of my favorite installments. Yeah. Then we get into Amazing 400. I got this signed by Bagley at the Boston Comic Con last year. And this was supposed to be the end of the Clone Saga originally. How they originally planned it was going to end here. But obviously, different things happened. Aunt May died here. And this is probably one of the worst enhanced covers. You could kind of see the outline because I have the light on top of it, but normally you can't see anything. It's just like a gray mess. It's probably not at all how they expected it to look. And did you know there's text down here? Bet you didn't. Or at least if you're looking at this, I bet you don't. So yeah, that kind of sucked. And then I got that one in CGC, 9.6. Got that for pretty cheap. I think it was $20 on my comic shop. And then there is the unenhanced version that is not super easy to find, and the white version. Probably one of the few times out of 90s books that had variants that I have all the versions of it. And I'm trying to look at if this is a dent or if this is just part of the cover. I think it's just part of the cover, the way they did the cracks on the tombstone. But you could tell it looks so much better as white. They should have made the regular version white and had red or black or something as the white rare version, because that gray is just not doing it. But you can see the image a lot better with the white. So pretty cool. I think we're gonna cut it off at 400, and then I'll do a part 2. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you all later.